Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. If you could please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome to the June 20th, 2019 Town of Riverhead Planning Board meeting. Before we get started on the discussion items, just want to point out that items 6 and 8 on the agenda are both under the name of Fadoon, but they are not related. So the warehouse discussion is number 6, and then the barn is number 8. They're just not related items. Okay, the first item on our agenda is a minor subdivision of Henry Silverman. I believe we have a letter to act on an extension.
And I just want the board to know that we're working on a resolution language-wise. Mr. Ayers and I are doing it this week, and maybe next week, we'll try and get
Okay.
yes to the end of July.
So this resolution, do we still act on that today?
No.
So
We're
they're
tabled.
both tabled, okay. Okay, so item 2, preliminary major subdivision of Cowfold Farms.
John Wagner's attorney of record, he was unable to make it today. He has seen the resolution, and he's fine with it. I made some minor edits to it, they're just typographical that I can address later. And you have a copy of that. The resolution will say revised as of today's date. They've identified everything on the plans that we've asked for. There's one remaining open issue. Vinnie Gaudiello did prepare a February 6, 2019 memo asking for some additional information to be shown in the plans. I have not gotten a revised memo from Vinnie. He assured me he's going to be here today with an updated memo. So hopefully he'll be here before we get to the resolution portion of the meeting.
He said he was coming though, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we'll come back to that when he comes.
Yep.
Item 3, 937 Old Country Road. Karen.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Oh, well,
Hi.
how are you?
Good.
All right, this is a preliminary site plan approval for 937 Old Country Road. It's kind of a oldie but goodie. So, it's for a addition to a car repair facility and a parking area for 47 vehicles. They're going to abandon the existing sanitary system and replace it. Landscaping, lighting. There's a sewer on Ackerley Street, which is south, and there's houses in between, and the health department has issued a, I guess, a conditional approval, because they feel sewers are not available.
They're not on Roanoke?
They are, but they won't let you tie into any of the other ones all the way down. They used
They're-
to,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, they're not accessible. You know, we looked into it and it was just,
The closest sewers are on Ackerley, and like I said, the health department has given them permission to have a regular system. And that's part of the reason why this was kind of sitting around for a while, because that was going back and forth.
yeah, we went down with Mike Reichel and he went down, he said, I can't get them sewers. I think there's one other place, Sarge's, and has the same thing, and I think they're putting an extension. I just saw something about, something in their plans where, for some reason, they just left those two parcels out, so.
Hey, Karen, I apologize for interrupting. Karen, can you move your folder over? You're blocking the microphone. There you go. You're gonna have to move it left or right. There you go.
Okay. I knew I couldn't cover it, I didn't know couldn't be near it.
There you go. Thank you.
The board looks at the plans, there's an existing access onto the adjacent property to the west, and that leads to the curb cut on Route 58. And there is an existing cross-access right-of-way agreement between the two parcels. They did go to the zoning board of appeals for increased floor area within the required side yard. and they'll need another extension, most likely. They've gotten 2 extensions. The third would take them until December of 2020. So just be aware that you'll have to request an
Yes,
extension. The chief building inspector did have some concerns about the closeness of the addition to the property line. So I'll provide a condition regarding that, which I'll get to later.
Excuse me, Karen?
Yes.
I went over there, it's a little over 3 feet. I took a picture of it. It says it's like on the property line, unless his property is offset, because there's like 3 feet between the building and the.
Well, what you're proposing here says half a foot.
Okay, that might have to be changed. I don't know if Jeff Butler put that in there, but basically.
Well, let's see.
the
Yeah,
building
it's
is-
3 foot between the
Retaining wall,
wall and the
right.
adjacent property.
And it's only
But it's
about
only
this-
half of a foot between the
Right.
building and the property line.
So it's not like we're gonna be, you know, a big, it's not gonna be a huge area there. It's only about 4 foot, the retaining wall, so.
The ARB did recommend some landscape substitutions, but it was for like 6 plants. I think we can handle that as part of the site plan review. So I did include a condition that prior to final site plan approval, the applicant's engineer would provide clarification satisfactory to the building department that the construction of the footings and foundations shall not disrupt the adjacent property to the east. Otherwise, a construction/hold safe and harmless agreement with the adjacent property owner will be required as part of the final site plan approval resolution. And then I did provide the resolution to Mr. Gruber and Jeff Butler, who's the engineer. And they really didn't have any major issues with it that I'm aware of. Since there was some time between the actual application and the resolution, the lighting is 4,000 Kelvin, but I looked up the specs on the lighting fixtures and you can get the same exact fixture but 3,000 Kelvin, so that would be an easy switch out. And then just some minor items to be corrected, which I don't think are, unless you want me to go through each one.
Have they been to the AORB yet?
Yes, I just said they went
We
to the
don't have any-
ARB and
oh.
they did want a couple of landscape substitutions.
Do we have any elevations, or
Yes,
just so we know what we're dealing with?
yeah, I did provide everybody with them.
That's the only comments, they wanted Bayberry and Goldenrod, that's it.
Right, they didn't want goldenrod, they wanted, bayberry instead of goldenrod and viburnum instead of lilac. And like I said, it amounts to about 6 plants, so, I don't think it's necessary for them to go back to the ARB. I can just check that as part of my
Yeah,
site
they
plan
just thought
review.
that they would do better there, I think.
What's the parking?
Yes, the parking, dimensions meet requirements. We had discussed, earlier, when we first had the application before the board, that they're proposing, 47 parking spaces, they require 17. The board did not have a problem with the extra stalls. I did include a condition that, the parking lot shall only be used for parking accessory to the on-site business, being customer parking or cars being worked on as part of the car repair business. Unless, of course, you know, they come in for another approval.
There are a bunch of cars stored back there now, isn't there?
Yeah, well, that's what happens. People leave them for a day or two. Ed knows, they leave them for 2 days or 3 days and they work on, get the parts and stuff like that. So I just didn't wanna have an issue, cause I have another repair shop and they're always overloaded with cars. They never have enough parking, so I don't wanna infringe on my, friendlies or anything else. I wanna make sure, because in my Southampton shop, for another $1 million, I can't buy another spot. The Burger King guy said, look, you've got empty spots, we'll rent them from you. He's not interested, so that's why I figured, you better to have them than not need them than to need them and not have them.
Makes sense.
So in the northeast elevation, that's facing the car wash, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just want, did the ARB approve this? I'm just curious because
Yeah,
there's,
that's what they
some-
approved.
some fake windows or some kind of architecture or something.
I mean, I don't think it'll really be visible
Not
from
gonna
the
be-
roadway.
No?
No, because it's behind the existing building.
Okay.
Way in the back,
So then I also included some, conditions prior to signature of the Mylar about, cross-access or future cross-access. Like I said, there is a cross-access right-of-way agreement with the, parcel with the Friendlies, but the documentation is a little, when you map out the parcels that are included in the Schedule A, B, and C, they don't match up. And so I did talk to Dick Ehlers about that, and he suggested we get a future cross-access agreement to the Friendlies parcel and the Kentucky Fried Chicken parcel, because there is a built-out area on those properties where they can connect. Also, I'm suggesting or including in here a future cross-access to the east, although right now it's a car wash with a retaining wall and it wouldn't work. Maybe in the future, as part of a redevelopment, it would work. And I did want to include a couple of things I forgot to include. I did look through the file, and prior to signature of the Mylar, I'd want any changes required by the fire marshal, because I don't have a memo from the fire marshal, but I don't foresee any problem. They're showing fire zone striping. The access aisle is 26.4 feet wide. They have this whole area here, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. Also, as part of looking into the cross-access issue, I did note that the title report, it includes a Schedule A, which is supposed to describe the property. It doesn't close, so it's not really accurate, and it makes the property into two pieces, which is kind of unusual. So just so there's no issue when you go to file your cross-access or future cross-access agreements, before you make your final application, if you can update the title report with the correct property description.
Okay.
And you can talk to Laura Calamita in the town attorney's office, and she can probably reach out to the title company, let them know that there's an issue. But I would include that as an amendment to the resolution. And we'll give you a copy
Okay.
of this.
Yeah, because years ago, that was all divided up. I'm sure you're probably to nauseam. I think Mr. Ehlers was the town attorney at the time. He said, I know that they want, but Jim Diamond owned all that property. So when he cut off chunks, he didn't sign easements to himself. And back in the day, nobody followed up on anything, so.
And there was actually
Yeah.
another easement that really showed a cross-access
Right.
between Roanoke and Route 58, but it was never filed, so.
Yeah, they dropped a lot of stuff that they never followed up on anything.
Right.
So, I'd love to have, I'd love to get gross easements and get them from them.
And then as far as, I included some things we'll include in the final site plan approval, just so the applicant and the board are aware of them, regarding water key money. DPW is requiring a permit, although they're not proposing any work on Route 58, so we just want to make sure any permit requirements would have been met. Also, it had come up with the water district comments that they didn't have an RPZ device, but Jeff Butler actually indicates that they do now on the plan. So the water district would like them to have a current test with a certified backflow tester and give them information on the type of device and the make and the model and all of that good stuff. So that's basically it, unless the board has any questions or comments.
So when this is all completed, all of the storage containers and
Yeah, well, that's what, yeah, we're
oil
looking to get
drums.
rid of all of that, we're looking to, you know, the guy's bursting at the seams. I don't know if you know Kevin, the family's been
Yeah.
they've been here 50 years, his grandfather started it, and now he says, oh, I said, I'm trying my best, you know, get this thing so we can, I got an old building there that's really not that attractive, I'm looking to clean it up and make it nice, you know. Cause, Burger King cleaned up theirs, and they were.
So when it's all finished, there'll be no outside tires stored or anything like that?
Not if I have my way, not when I spend that kind of money, I don't want, you know, I mean, now it's an old building and he's trying to, you know, live out of a small building that he needs twice as big, that's why I'm doing this.
Because those tires outside, they fill up with rain, that's mosquito breeding grounds, you know.
Yeah, what he does is he piles them up and then all of a sudden they all get taken out, I think, you know, but basically that's what I'm looking to do, I'm looking to clean up and make the building nice, I mean, it's been there a long time and it's getting tired, you know.
You know, normally that's what they do, they wait, you know, for some time to get, you know, so many tires, because they probably won't come out and pick up
Right,
20.
right,
You know,
you
they
get-
wanna pick up 120,
Right,
you know.
right.
I will also suggest perhaps put some signage here, just to keep any of these patrons out of here.
Well, they are proposing a fence, well, there's a fence across here right now.
Right.
Yeah, but how
Yeah.
far up does it go
Yeah.
here?
I can't see what you're talking about.
Like up the side where they propose, cause right
Oh,
now,
that
you
fence
could
there.
kinda, right now, you could kinda, I think what you're saying, you can just kinda drive back there right now.
No, there's,
Yeah,
there's,
From the parking lot.
there's a
Yeah.
fence here.
Yeah, there's a border there, there's a big
Right, but these
berm.
first few stalls here.
Right, right,
You could
Yeah.
see all the way back here where everything is, somebody could just drive back there.
yeah, yeah. I've had it where I couldn't drive back there on a Sunday when the shops were closed,
everybody parks
the
there,
parks
yeah.
there, they figured, oh, it's closed, I said, I can't even get to my own building, it wasn't an issue, but like you said, you gotta think about things like that.
Yep.
So, okay.
Okay, that's it,
That's it.
unless the board has any other questions.
Been a long time, when I built that building, I was in my 20s and had dark hair, and now I'm winding down.
Well, good luck to you.
All
Looks
right,
like
well,
we're on the
thank you
right
very
path
much
here.
for your
I
help.
think that's mine, no? Or is that yours?
Well, you can
No,
have it.
it's yours, I guess.
Okay, I think it's mine, but you
Thank
can have it.
No, I have
Yeah.
one, so that's fine.
Thank you.
All righty, well, thank you.
Augie.
Take care.
Okay.
Thanks, Karen.
You're welcome.
You're very efficient. I mean, do you miss anything? That's why I have my wife. I'm one of those guys that I miss.
That was a left-handed compliment.
No, yeah, no, I mean, she's very, my wife picks up all the detailed stuff. I said, I didn't even notice, you know. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next item is 4 on the agenda, Mary Ellen Real Estate, Riverhead Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram.
This is just to classify the action and to request lead agency status. I just wanted to put it on for discussion because when I did my initial report, I had said it was unlisted with coordinated review, not recommended. But actually, this came in after we had put that new chapter 225 in place, which requires anything with 50 parking stalls or more to be type 1 action with mandated coordinated review. So the applicant's aware, and we just need to pass this and we can send out the coordinated review to all the involved agencies.
We have the resolution for today, right?
Yep, yes,
Okay.
it's in the packet.
Yep. All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next one is 5 on the agenda. SIRS Sirs Ventures, 1074 Pulaski Street. Karen, this is yours too, right?
Yes. Okay. I did forward the resolution to the applicant, and he did not find any, issues with it, except that he wanted to clarify under the description of the project that building number 4, which is going to hook up to the sewers, is not gonna hook directly up to the sewer on West Street. It's going to hook up to the internal sanitary, sewage line on site, which goes to West Street. So I can amend that. But I'm sure the board remembers this application, Pulaski Street and Columbus Avenue. So I don't know how much you want me to get into it.
Well, they were
other
here,
than-
it's been a couple of years since they were here last, right?
Yes.
Was that a different approval for something else?
No, this was the same one.
Same one.
The same one. There was like a 7-month gap where I didn't get a revised plan, and then there was.
I know we had asked for some improvements in their landscaping. Did
Yes,
that get
and
done?
they did improve it somewhat. I did go out to the site fairly recently, and there had been a couple of lights that were problematic. One was a floodlight and one was too high. And we had kind of addressed that in the initial report about, that at the time the board was, as a policy, requiring 3,000 Kelvin, and then that was subsequently put into the code, that it couldn't be more than 3,000 Kelvin for the lighting. I had gone out there fairly recently, and about 8 lights were replaced with new fixtures. So I did request the specifications for those from the applicant, and I got them, I believe on June 6th. So they can be made full cutoff. They can be adjusted from 0 to 65 degrees. When I was last out there, most of them were not set in the full cutoff position. Also, they're 4,000 Kelvin fixtures, which don't comply. And I know the applicant doesn't wish to set them in the full cutoff position because of issues with getting the intensity of the lighting and the spread of the lighting he wants. So I know the last time we had spoken, the board didn't want to have all these lighting things adjusted on the plan, but they did want.
Well, I understand that he wants what he wants, but the code is the code.
Right, so I did include here as, prior to the final site plan inspection and issuance of a CO, either they've got to get a zoning board of appeals variance for the non-compliant lighting, or replace it.
Okay,
Um,
I'm satisfied with that.
So, and I also included that the all adjustable angle lighting shall be set perpendicular to the ground, to meet the requirement for full cutoff fixtures. If he doesn't want to do that, again, they can go to the zoning board. I just wanna say also that there was some back and forth about the propane storage.
Yes, but that was my next comment. What happened to that whole thing?
Well, in my initial report, I did bring up what's going to happen to the existing propane storage, which was in the fenced-in area that's
Right.
becoming a paved parking lot. And that really didn't get addressed until I received a new plan, and it was next to the building. So it was shown over here. It's not shown there anymore, but right, that's the new location. The fire marshal had an issue with where it was located next to the building. So now they're proposing a new enclosure. The fire marshal did give me a new memo on that, and he wanted the enclosure to be at least 5 feet from the HVAC in the adjacent enclosure. So one of the conditions on here is to amend the plan to show that the enclosure is 5 feet from the closest point of the HVAC.
What are they using the propane, sorry for interrupting.
I think it's for the tent company. There's a company in there.
But do you remember them stating that these buildings were unheated? Do you remember that statement? They were unheated. What do you need propane for?
No, I don't think it's for the actual building. I think it's for the event company.
Okay, so they have portable heaters, I understand that, I know that business a little bit, okay? But they're normally either 20, 30, 40, or 100-pound propane.
They did provide some information to the fire marshal about the size of the containers, and he
Right.
was satisfied.
I mean, they're not filling, they don't have a larger tank, and then they're filling smaller ones, I'm sure, correct? I mean.
He said storage of LP gas cylinders shall not exceed 2,500 pounds. Empty LP gas containers shall be considered as full for the purposes of determining quantities. So, he wanted no smoking signs, no combustibles within 10 feet of the enclosure. When I did go out there, there was a couple of dead shrubs and a lot of Japanese knotweed around the existing HVAC enclosure. And those die off in the winter, and I guess they would be pretty combustible. So I did include, before they get a final site plan inspection and a CO, that the applicant request an inspection of the propane storage area from the fire marshal to determine whether combustibles within 10 feet of the area have been removed to his satisfaction, because I didn't feel like I'm the one to make that
I
determination.
mean, did they clean that place up because it was a mess there for a long time? I'll make a site visit tomorrow.
Yeah, I did include here that they remove existing above-ground oil tanks, but I spoke to the applicant, and he indicated those have already been removed.
Well, if they were there before, my question is, he says this is all unheated space. Why would you have oil tanks if you had unheated space?
I don't know if everything is unheated. I think he might have been talking
Might have
about
been the one building.
building number 4, the one that's being hooked up to the sewers.
I thought 4 was basically unheated because it was a warehouse. That was his statement, and I'm.
So it is a
believe-
warehouse, it says it right here, but the question is if they're putting sewer in this building, they're gonna have to have a hot water if they have bathrooms, right?
If I remember from the original discussion, I'm not sure if it even has bathrooms.
So what's the sewer hookup for?
At the time, they said it was just for the future, depending if there came a use that had to go in there that would need it.
Has he been to the sewer district?
Yeah, we have a letter saying they're a sewer availability letter.
Right, I'm not sure you could hook one building up to another building. You may need a connection to the street.
Oh.
You have rules about, when you hook multiple buildings up and there's a blockage, they can't determine which building might have caused the blockage.
Richard, we're talking about your project if you wanna
Oh,
come
good.
up.
What's the question?
The board was asking, actually, Dick Ehlers was asking about the sewer connection.
Okay.
He thought, maybe you can,
Did you go, I know nothing but what I just heard. Have you been to Michael to
So
did he
this
say you
was
could
a-
hook an additional building up to another building?
So, yes, Michael doesn't have any problems with it.
Okay.
It's currently a storage building,
Been to Michael.
never had a thing. There's 2 sewer connections at this site. One comes off of Pulaski to the old building that was the office space for the van lines. The new one for the 2 buildings in the back comes off of West Street through here. There is this exists as we know it, that's a manhole, and then it leads off to the 2 buildings, coming to them. So it goes like this, like that, to there, and in. So, and the funny part is we've shown on this plan for it to extend here to go into this building if it ever turned into, this building currently doesn't even have a bathroom. So, because it was all part of this storage thing. So, we just figured before I start pouring concrete for these pads and everything else, it would be good to extend this line out. We don't have an intention just today to do anything in this building, but it was just future planning. And then when Matt from the sewer department went up there, he said, well, there is a line. And we go, none of us know about that. No one has ever opened this. And Matt says there already is a line that runs about 40 feet this way that was put in by when these guys did this work to do it. So in our planning, we just said it would be smart to do this before I build this concrete pad and put up fences and everything else to deal with at least extending it that way.
So it's not gonna go into the building?
Not today. So
Well,
right now.
You're
so-
showing it poking in.
Well, we're showing it that it eventually will, so I guess with this site plan approval, we're basically showing you that, yes, we want the availability of sewer for this building. But there's, right now, Sag Harbor Moving and Storage has been there since we bought the place, and they have no intentions as of right now to move out. But if they ever do move out, I can't tell you what the next use is. And if this is a standalone building, which it is, someone's gonna want a bathroom in. Right now, our use is a cold storage facility. So,
So this is still without heat, this building has no heat?
well, it had an oil tank on the outside, but.
Well, yeah,
it-
that was a comment I made prior to you, coming.
Right,
this
so all
afternoon.
the oil tanks have been removed, they were just containment oil tanks. There was a pipe that led into the building, but we've never seen a furnace in there, and there's never been anything, but maybe at one time it was, because why would somebody have piped in an oil containment unit to it? But,
Makes perfect sense to me.
so, right now that is cold storage, all it has is electric,
Is there heat in this building?
yes.
So if that use were to change down the road, that would require, right now, it's only approved for that cold storage, correct?
I can't tell you what it's approved for. This whole place was pre-existing. It went through a terrible site plan back in the day. It had an improved site plan, and then it never got fully built, but somehow they got a site plan approval based on a survey that was taken, and they got their stamp on that. We've been trying to improve it since we've owned it for the last 3 or 4 years, and we've been doing that. But right now, its use is that. I don't know if we look at the calculations for what that building was, for everything. But as you know, before we even put a tenant in that building besides what's there, we would need a use permit. If I put in a bathroom, I need a building permit. And those would address those at that time. But do I have to go back to site plan if I change the use?
That's my question.
Well, that would be up to, I
Building-
guess, the new building inspector.
Okay.
They would look at it and make that determination whether the use was acceptable.
All right.
I mean, I just wanted to pave a parking lot here, and I've gone through a full site plan, so kind
But-
of scary.
The pipe was already in.
The pipe is in, so maybe I didn't need to show it on the plan. The pipe does not, I can't tell you where the pipe goes. I haven't done that investigation. All we know is when they opened the manhole there, they saw a pipe heading in the southerly direction.
It says proposed sanitary sewer connection, so.
'Cause as far as I was concerned, there wasn't a pipe there when I made this plan 2 years ago. We don't wanna hide the fact that eventually the next tenant, we're gonna have to build a bathroom there legally
Okay.
for them to occupy.
And that would require you coming back to the town, so that answers my question.
Does the board have any other concerns or questions? So, I'll just make that slight change that they're not hooking up that building directly to the West Street main, they're hooking up on site.
Okay, your timing was good.
Thank you. We talked about the lights.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, next item on the agenda, number 6, is Fadoon Warehouse on Pulaski Street.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, Pat.
All right,
So we're here to follow up from the last meeting. We have an application to construct a 5,400 square foot warehouse storage building and related site improvements. At the last meeting, planning board had said they were gonna go out and do a site visit, and do a further investigation on the pile on the southern end of the property, and give the applicant some direction, if they wanted him to do some testing, or, what the general guidelines were that they would like to see satisfied.
It's an old pile. It looked to me like, there's trees in there that are that big, so,
Yeah,
it's all
20-inch
grown out of
garbage
there.
trees.
It looked to me, when I walked back up in there and went through that, it looked to me like somebody had chosen that for a dump site. They were doing construction or whatever in the area.
Stockpiling probably
And they were dumping, one of them looks like they were, they had done some demolition and then just dumped it. You could see, there's a hole in the center and whatever, however far they could. I would just like to say, I don't personally think there's anything in there, but I think we should check. Maybe make a few holes in there and.
I'll take a couple samples,
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
the DEC was out there several times. And they, I don't know if you have the correspondence from them?
Yes.
And they made their suggestions to pretty much leave it alone.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
if nothing was found.
nothing was found.
That email from the DEC, I think confused matters more than they solved them. I've never seen a letter from the DEC so on the fence before. But nonetheless, Joe had called me and he obviously couldn't make it today, and he said he was okay with leaving it the way it was. So,
Yeah.
I don't know, did you
I
guys,
think we should leave it.
did you, take a look too?
Yeah.
So you're in agreement?
I'm in agreement that.
Okay, but do you think it should be tested
Yeah.
or not?
Yeah.
Just a
I'll take a couple, yeah.
soil
Yeah.
sample,
Yeah,
that's
I'll
fine.
do a soil
Yeah,
sample.
That's
If
fine,
it's- And if it's clean, okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
that's fine. Great.
All right. Now, we do have, we did have a resolution on at the last meeting, which was tabled to schedule a public hearing. Just because, at this point, to get him on, the next available meeting would be, I believe, August 1st. If he can, would the board like to schedule that public hearing, and then he
Yeah,
can
we
get
could-
that?
It's a month and a half, you can get that done.
Oh, yeah, no, he said, I can get it done.
Even if we had to make it a condition down the road, it's fine.
All right,
Yeah.
so I did amend the resolution to fix the dates, so if you vote on it, it would be the original resolution number, and we'd just schedule the public hearing then for August 1st this year.
Okay.
All right?
Good,
We'll do
keep
that.
it good, thank you.
Terrific.
This is going too quick.
Okay, next item 7, Sprint minor modifications to existing cell site in Jamesport. Resolution. It's not on here.
Let me ask Dick.
Give me the number so I can call it later. The one for hit the barn.
Yeah,
No, not the barn.
the warehouse, yeah, that's it, right there.
Good. Thanks.
All right, so the planning department has received and reviewed a site plan application to modify an existing wireless communications facility and upgrade the existing equipment on Sound Avenue in Jamesport. The work to the tower mounted equipment as proposed in the site plan consists of installing 3 new MIMO Sprint antennas on existing pipe mount, typical of 3 sectors at 90, 180, and 250 degrees. Replacing of existing diagonals from 360 feet to 0 inches through 380 feet to 0 inches. And replacing hardware to match existing. Replace the existing diagonals from 100 feet to 0 inches through 120 feet and 0 inches, and to replace and match existing. Relocate the stiff arm connecting the V-arm to the position 1 antenna pipe, and replace the stiff arm pipe with P2 STD if extra strength is needed. The groundwork level at the site is proposed by this application is to install 2 new Sprint 1-inch and 5/8 new upgrade hybrid cable, install 2 new AMOD units, enclosures with 2 new remove V-bus inside, install 2 install 2-inch RGS conduit for new MIMO equipment, install 2 new 1.5 inches of interconnect conduits for DC power, install 1 new AMOL unit, install 1 new top hat enclosure with rectifier shelf, and install 4 new rectifiers. The planning department has received a 13-page site plan prepared and stamped by John M. Banks, RA, with last issue date October 1st, 2018. The planning department has received and reviewed an antenna site FCC RF compliance assessment report prepared by Rebecca Singali for EnviroVisist, stamped and signed by Michael McGuire, a New York State licensed engineer, dated April 10th, 2019. And the structural modification report and mount modification report stamped and signed by Stephen William Schwab, PE, last dated October 4th, 2018. The proposed modifications will be made to an existing telecommunications facility located on 11.39 acre parcel located at Sound Avenue in Jamesport within the RA 80 residential district, with said parcel being more particularly described as Suffolk County Tax Record 600-3-1-2.5. And the surrounding area is predominantly residential and agricultural. The proposed action is an unlisted action pursuant to SECRA, and coordinated review is optional and is not recommended. The RF analysis, the report states that the RF exposure levels at the site will be at 2.7% of the maximum permissible exposure limits established by the FCC for continuous exposure to the general public. The structural analysis report prepared and stamped by Stephen William Schwab, licensed New York State PE, last dated October 4th, 2018, analyzed the tower, foundation, equip mounts, and found that sufficient structure capacity to handle both existing and proposed equipment with proposed modifications. Staff recommends that the planning board assume lead agency, issue a negative declaration, and grant administrative approval for the minor modifications to the Sprint existing communications facility. Does the board have any questions?
So that PE stamp for the structural, I only see the architectural stamp on these plans that we have. Where is that PE stamp that the structural is adequate for the proposed modifications? You have it?
Yes.
And this is specific to the structural, right?
Yep.
And it said it was 2018, and that's for what's proposed today, right? This structural analysis?
Correct.
Okay. And the FCC compliance report was within the limits, right?
Yes, within limits.
So this tower, it's 410 feet?
Yeah.
And it has the guide wires, right?
It's guide tower, yes.
Is there any regulation for the height and those guide wires for being so high? I mean, I know that's not changing, right?
Correct.
But is there any regulation on the structural capacity of those when they do this report? Is it mentioned in there? What are they made out of?
I'm not a structural engineer, so I can't answer that question.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
I can find out.
Well, I'm sure I would assume, I shouldn't say I'm sure, that was taken into account if a PE stamped it structurally.
On A6, they have that listed. Let me take a look at that real quick. I mean, we just got this, so, take a look on A6. It shows the cable.
Well, that's the cable for the,
Isn't that what you were?
no, that's to the units.
Oh, that's for the
These
units.
guide wires actually hold this thing up and they come out.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I was thinking it was the.
It's a good question, because the area, it's a busy area. And it's got New Park and.
Can we, again, we haven't seen this, and, usually we take your word for it, that everything is in order when a PE stamps it, but I just want to be certain that the integrity of those guide wires, I don't know how long they've been there, what the
Okay.
material is, as long as it's covered under this PE stamp, I'm sure we'd be fine with it, but if it's been there for 20 years, I just want to make sure that that's been looked at,
Okay.
okay?
Chairman, I just want to point out too, that this is an existing tower. New communication towers are coming in with enclosed inside the pilings, but this one's pre-existing, just want to point that out.
is also a resolution on, so do you want to table the resolution, or?
Well, maybe we could, well, it would be a question for Dick. Could we vote on that resolution pending the outcome of whether or not it was included in this structural report, the condition of the guide wires?
Maybe just a condition that the structural engineer confirm that the guide wire structural integrity is included in the report.
As amended, okay, okay.
Okay, so I'll amend the resolution.
Yeah, we'll pass it today, but
Okay.
you just have to amend it
Okay.
with that amendment, okay?
I'll work with Carissa to phrase it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next item is item 8 for Dune Barn. So,
Pretty
did,
much agreed, I think, at this point.
the resolution's fine?
The resolution is good.
Okay, all right.
Wow, knocking them out today.
Yeah. Well, this one's been around too, so. That's it. As long as he reviewed it and he's okay with it, we'll vote on it and move on. All right, so we're up to, there's no public hearing scheduled, public comments on resolutions. Are there any public comments on the resolutions today? Okay,
Make a motion that we move resolution number 10 of the, oh no, we're gonna,
yeah,
just tabled?
yeah,
or
that's
just
tabled
skip it?
until next meeting, yeah.
Okay, very good, okay. So we'll move resolution number 30 for Dune Barn, so moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve resolution 30 for Dune Barn, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, resolution's approved.
I'll move resolution 2019-49, 937 Old Country Road to approve the preliminary site plan.
Second the motion?
I just wanted to make sure it's as amended.
Yeah.
As amended, so moved.
Second the motion?
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 49 as amended for 937 Old Country Road, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, resolution's approved. Number 4 on the agenda.
I'll move resolution number 50 of the Riverhead Planning Board for Mary Ellen Real Estate LLC, Riverhead Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 50 for Mary Ellen Real Estate, classifies SECRA and request lead agency, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, resolution's approved. Number 5.
I'll move resolution 51, SIRS Ventures, 74 Pulaski Street, to approve the administrative site plan application for the sewer hookup. And I think we have an amendment on that too, though. Yes. As amended? So moved.
Second the motion?
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve SIRS Ventures, resolution 51, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, resolution's approved.
Resolution number 6, Sprint at Sound Avenue. Resolution to approve a preliminary site plan to modify existing wireless communication facility pending.
As amended.
As amended.
As amended.
Second the motion?
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 52 as amended for Sprint at Sound Avenue, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, resolution's approved.
Move resolution number 53, preliminary major residential subdivision of Coffold Farm. So moved.
Second?
Discussion. I gave you a copy today that says revised 6/2019. You should have that in front of you. That's the one. There's one blank in there that's on page number 3. It has to do with waiting for comments from the consulting engineer. I just got the phone with Vinnie. He did review this, based upon his February 2019 memo. And he told me over the phone that he is okay with the map as revised, that addressed all of his prior comments. I don't know if you want to take that on as verbal, from me, or, I
Well,
hate to.
he communicated that to you, right?
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay, so, and that would be, just adding, June 19th, 2019 date on, page 3 of the resolution.
Okay, so that's as amended too.
Correct.
We had a second?
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve resolution 53 for major residential subdivision at Cowfold Farms as amended, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Opposed?
Mr. Chairman, on the resolution number 54, this is the Donnelly, Chapter 219. We're going to be taking that off of today's agenda. And the reason why is this is a coastal application to rebuild or reconstruct a house from a one-story to a two-family. And further reviewing the application, they replaced the timber retaining wall. And they're probably assume they're gonna have to replace or reconstruct the staircase. This was not included with the application. We called DEC today, John Flood did. They do not have a tidal wetland permit to do that. They need a DEC permit to do that. We have no construction drawing of the reconstruction of the timber wall. So, we spoke with the applicant today. He is aware of it. He's obviously not happy about it, but he's understanding of it. So until such time that we get the amended plans that we've asked for and a DEC permit for that work, we're going to table that resolution until such time.
Okay, so the wall was already constructed, but not the stairs?
They've had the improvements forever. We look back at the historical aerial imagery, they've been there, but when he submitted the photographs of the site as it exists today, we noticed that there was new timbers, and we called the app, and new backfilling, and he confirmed that it wasn't him. He said it was his predecessor, completely reconstructed the wall and backfilled it without any permission from DEC or from the town. And John contested that. He visited the site.
Yeah, the timbers look brand new. When I called the deputy permit administrator at DEC, she said that we might have to take a tidal wetlands specialist out there from DEC as well as the conservation officer.
All right, so we won't act on this one.
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, number 9 on the agenda.
I'll move number 55, Bating Hollow Cottage condominium, cottage number 8, granting the administrative site plan approval. So moved.
Second the motion?
Motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 55, Bating Hollow Cottage Condominium Administrative Site Plan Approval. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Resolution's approved.
Move resolution 56 for Enterprise Park at Calverton, resolution to approve a preliminary plat. So moved.
Stan, did you want a brief summary on this?
Yes, if you could, please, before
Yep.
we vote on it.
Absolutely. The Community Development Agency submitted a subdivision application for this to subdivide the existing 2,107 acre tract into 8 lots. We had a prior application for 50 lots. That got to be too encumbering on part of the town, so we reduced it down to 8 lots, and I'll explain why in just a moment. On May 2nd of this year, we had a public hearing on the 8-lot subdivision. We opened and closed that. On May 16th of this year, we adopted a resolution entitled Resolution Adopting the Secret Consistency Analysis. And the reason for going from the 50 lot down to the 8 lot was that the subdivision application by the CDA, the primary purpose of that was to subdivide out what the town currently and will own as a result of this subdivision, that already has significant improvements on a number of those lots. And we're simply segregating out the lots that we are going to sell. There are 3 lots that we're going to be sold for private development. There are 8 lots. The Lot 1 is within the Pine Barrens, consists of approximately 292 acres, and will continue to be owned by the town. Lot 2 is the ball field. It's already developed, will continue to be owned by the town. Lot 3 is the Grumman Monument, is where the airplanes are, and that there is future room for fire and ambulance facilities. Lot 4 is where the groundwater recharge facility for the discharge for the Calverton Sewer District. Lot 5 is the location of the Henry Pfeiffer facility. We have the recreational bicycle path around the whole perimeter of the property, which will continue to be owned and maintained by the town. It's lots 6, 7, and 8. Those are the vacant lots that we are planning to sell for private and future development. There are no current development plans for any of these developments for those 3 lots. Those will be subject to future development applications by a private entity once they take title to it. All 8 lots have frontage on a public highway with utility access, and therefore no improvements, including roads, drainage, public sewer, public water, electrical, or any other utilities will be necessary to construct as a result of this subdivision approval. We did receive Planning Commission comments back on the 50-lot subdivision back in October 2014. They approved the subdivision with 11 comments, no conditions. And comments do not require an override by the planning board. We addressed each of those comments in the resolution, and we satisfied each of their concerns accordingly. So the resolution for you today is to approve the 8-lot subdivision based upon the map prepared by LK McLean Associates, last dated March 26, 2019. You have a report from the consulting engineer dated May 15th, 2019. We know that we're going to require health department approval and DEC approval before you get final subdivision approval. There are 9 conditions associated with the preliminary subdivision before you. I'm not gonna read them each in their verbatim. And what this resolution finally does is consents to the preparation and submission of the final subdivision application. And that's the resolution that's before you today.
Does the 8-lot go before the commission? Suffolk County?
No, the 50 lot was. And they had no conditions, only comments. And through the 8 lots, we addressed each one of those conditions, or comments, excuse me, and those are enumerated and addressed in the resolution.
Okay, you moved it?
Excuse me, is it possible to make a comment?
Well, we had already asked the public if they had any comments on the resolution.
Mr. Murphy's comments.
Feel free.
Thank you. It seems that this is premature. And the question that was just asked seems to indicate that this is premature, that the 50-lot subdivision has gone through public comment. This 8-lot subdivision has not. And in fact, I was trying to get a copy of this 8-lot subdivision, the plan, and the resolution, and it wasn't until right now at this hearing that I was able to get my hands on the resolution itself, which has these conditions in it. And I would ask that this be tabled so that the public can in fact review this and make meaningful comments.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to, I've forgotten, I apologize. This resolution has been posted on the town website since Monday of this week.
The notice that this resolution was here, but the resolution, when you go into the agenda for the planning board, had the agenda but no packet. I could not find the resolution there was no packet of materials.
We do not post the packet online. We posted the resolution under the Community Development Agency with all the rest of the EPCAL information, and that's where all the other information has always been held on the website.
I really have a problem with that because I didn't think to go to the EPCAL. I went to the planning board expecting to see the materials that would be before the planning board today. And I think this is unfair to the public and should be postponed because there has not been a fair opportunity to comment on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't identify myself. I'm Kathy McGraw. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think overall, this whole process for this subdivision has been well vetted. We have delayed the environmental review in the past. It's been well publicized. And, you know, to the planning board, the fact that the town has a contract with someone to purchase some of the lots really has no bearing on our decision here. Whether you like or dislike the proposed sale of the property, this board has no authority over it. And in fact, to this board, this subdivision is nothing different than someone in Wading River who has 2 acres and they want to make 2 one-acre lots. Really, that's how it's treated by this board, and I think it was well publicized. The public has had more than ample opportunity to comment on it, and it's time for us to vote on it and move on.
Well,
So,
you have
I'm
a
sorry,
comment.
the comments are over.
I haven't seen the subdivision plot, and I don't know whether the designations that were a part of the SECRA for the 50-lot designation are on this plot.
We've been through it many times.
I don't believe they're on there.
So, anything else? Thank you. So we have a motion made to approve Resolution 56, Enterprise Park at Calverton. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve Resolution 56, Enterprise Park at Calverton, EPCAL. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution's approved. Any comment on any, public comment on any matters? Any other matters?
Yes, I'd like to make a further comment. I am incredulous that this is the way this is being handled. There just hasn't been proper opportunity. Have you all seen the 8-division plat that's the subject of this resolution? Do you have it in front of you?
They've been provided with it, yes.
Okay, I just think this is such a railroad job, and it has nothing to...
I'm sorry, I disagree with you. I mean, this has been so well vetted. This subdivision is, we've had meetings, we've delayed decisions. We've actually had another second public hearing on it. So I'm sorry, I have to respectfully disagree with you. This has been out there long enough, and this deal that the town is making has nothing to do with the planning board. It's not within our authority. It's a subdivision map.
It's not the deal that I'm concerned about here. It's the plat itself and the 8-plat subdivision, the 8-lot subdivision. If it's going to be in compliance with SECRA, it seems to me it has to have the designations on it that were on the 50-lot subdivision. And I don't see those designations on this, and I don't understand why the planning board would approve it without those designations.
We act under the advice of our attorney. We've consulted with them, and everything has been done appropriately.
So you believe. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Any other public comments? Meeting minutes of June 6th.
Make a motion to move the Riverhead Planning Board minutes from June 6, 2019, so moved.
Okay, motion made and second to approve the minutes of June 6th. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved. Just kind of one follow-up item on we discussed at our last meeting, the NextEra solar application that the town board requested lead agency on. So I did have the opportunity to speak with the supervisor. We discussed our concerns, and she, acknowledged that she understands and hears our concerns. She is gonna have further communication with the rest of the town board. And I think at this point, although we agreed to it last meeting, at this point, I don't know that it's in anyone's best interest for us to debate whether or not who should be the lead agency on the secret review for that, especially understanding that the supervisor has acknowledged how we feel about it and what's happening with solar in that region. She said that she was gonna consult the rest of the town board and perhaps get us a memo to that effect, and that would satisfy me that they understand our concerns and that it's sufficient enough to let them have the lead agency, and just wanted to see how the rest of the board felt. We're okay with that?
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
Chairman, your next meeting date, I think this is inaccurate. I believe we're moving it because it's
Thursday, it's a Tuesday, the second, I think.
Just clarify so
Yes,
people know.
thank you. Okay, the next meeting is Tuesday, July 2nd at 7 PM. Tuesday, yeah. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Have a
Thank
nice
you.
weekend, everybody. That's what they're saying.